Hey there, strangers. It's time for another 2 p.m. PST Twitch stream. I'm your host, Strange Virgin, and we are getting ourselves back into some Unity 3 programming today. Just making sure everything is set up on my end here real quick. Everything's looking good. Okay. Go to webcam for a quick second here. So we got ourselves a bit of work to do today. Um, still want to kind of work on trying to get some of these um, agents fixed. They're still not showing up in the correct locations. Um, I suspect that they're still using the square-based tile system coordinates versus the hexagonal uh, um, coordinate system. So you may be asking, well, what do you mean there, Jim? Well, right now, the the human agents that are being spawned on the map have the right coordinates that they should be going at, per se. I mean, there's still some fixes that need to be done there. Um, but they are not being centered on the tile itself. Okay. And what I mean by that is that I already have the map tile-based. I already have the map arranged the way I need it to be arranged. So now these agents are showing up on the map, and their coordinates, while correct, aren't being centered on the hexagonal tiles themselves, and that's a problem. Okay, I can't have these agents going on a path that makes absolutely no sense based off of the map itself. It's like having these agents flying through walls when they really shouldn't be. Um, so we have to figure out where the problem is. How can we correct said problem? Um, and how can we get the agents to conform to the map? Um, Second problem that I'm trying to deal with. Right now, I'm dealing with um, having two components, I guess you might say. Um, the original component of um, the class itself, the human class, and then I was generating clones of it using the initiate. Now, um, the problem is that I'm I'm creating a new agent each and every single time, and then a clone of said agent. So when I've been making two agents, human one and human two, I've been making a clone one and a clone two, and that that shouldn't be the case. I shouldn't have to worry about that. I should just be having human one and human two. That's it. So I had to figure out um, whether or not I really need initiate. I don't think I should need it, but I don't know. Um, because the problem that I have with it is the fact that um, the human component could have different resources to it. Could be having different um, could be having different stats to it. Could be hunters. Okay, these are all kind of stemming from the human class. Okay, you know, there could be a human, and there could be a hunter, and each one of those hunters have their own separate components to them. Okay, they could be, ghost hunter, or ghoul hunter, or goblin hunter. Okay, so I can't make a clone of that one human object because it changes, you know. So while the the hunter components might be um, well, it might be okay to kind of have these clones per se, because the clones are their own unique components, and therefore they're going to be able to um, collect and have their own hit points, and well, not really hit points, but um, they'll have their own um, collection of resources. They'll have their own bullets. Um, they'll have their own pathing to them. So, the clones themselves aren't too much of a problem. The problem is the fact that, I have four of these components showing up in my list of components, and it's like, I shouldn't need that many. Okay. Uh, it should only be focused on um, the amount of memory location should only be focused on one component at a time. Okay. Um, the other side of things that I'm kind of worried about is the fact that um, the the game itself is looking at the human and still seeing it as outside of the hexagonal grid that I have, and still putting it in the square tile-based map. So um, while the clones, they're still using that tile-based system for some odd reason, even though they're still being placed underneath um, the component of the resource tile map, which they should be kind of contained within. So that's another problem that needs to be addressed. Um, the third problem that I'm working on right now is the fact that these agents are spawning where resources are still there. So that means that um, when when it checks to see whether or not um, there's resources located at the um, specific spawn point, it doesn't really care. It still looks at it as a spawn point, and that's not correct. It shouldn't be doing that. So that's probably one of the easiest fixes that I could probably do right now. So um, alright, so let me switch over to my live scene here. Alright, um, so this is a listing of all the problems that I'm currently looking at right now, and I was thinking to myself, maybe I should kind of go through this list and see which ones have already been kind of fixed and which ones are still kind of available for the most part. So, um, okay, so this right here, we're pretty much done. We fixed the the coordinate system on the board. So this has been completed. So I can go ahead and we can move that down and complete that. We don't need to worry about that anymore. Still haven't worked on the camera, so no worries about that. Inmates has an extra value added that shouldn't be there. Hmm. Oh, right. There appeared to be an extra um, based off of what I remember, there was a extra element added into the array that doesn't make any sense why it should be there. So I don't know if I ever got to the bottom of that particular issue or not. So, um, okay, so we have this right here. Spawn points for the enemy cities could potentially be a balance issue. One spawn location might be closer to the human city versus the other spawn locations. So here's the thing with this. Um, I don't know how much more I can. Um, I don't know how much more I can do to kind of fix this particular problem because right now I have the city in randomization, and while there might be some maps that put the tile directly in the center every single time, it might not always turn out that way, um, which allows for the single tile to be aligned in a corner that's closer to one of the potential enemy cities, and therefore could potentially have a little bit of a game balance issue, meaning that the humans are closer to the enemy, and therefore it makes it harder for the humans um, to kind of fight against a quicker onslaught than say if they were a little bit further away. Now, the maze itself kind of helps the balance in a way, in that um, Kushkov's algorithm um, could make a pathing that um, the enemy has to kind of go pretty much all the way around the map to get to the humans. That could potentially happen. Or it could give them a straight route directly to the humans. Again, don't really know. Okay. Um, so that's why I'm looking this at this as this could potentially be a game balance issue. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to this particular point right now, um, even though right now it's working kind of the way I want it to work, but I may need to change things up a little bit. Okay. I may need to put it to a point where um, the tiles being generated might be um, uh, you might want to get it to a point where it will always be in the center of the map every single time. That that might be that might be a fix, um, and would it solve the game balance issue? Probably. Maybe. Probably not though. And there may be a point where I'm just gonna have to say there's not much we can do about it. Okay, there may be games where they just come out with like the worst map ever, and I'm gonna have to face that fact that RNG might not be on the side of the player. So um, I can tweak and modify the map as much as I want to, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to eventually come to the conclusion that RNG is may still cause the human player some problems. So that's where you have the game balance issue versus playability. So, okay. Um, so do I want to slow down or speed up the walking speed of the enemies? Don't really know. Another game balance issue, exactly. Do humans slow down based on carrying resources? Again, good question. Do base speeds change per agent? Meaning is one human faster or slower than the other human? Again, good question. Are base speeds different between races? Meaning are goblins faster than ghosts, faster than ghouls, faster than human speed, or a different order? Again, good question. Can enemy races run? Can a goblin run in a straight line to either pass a human or capture? So all these questions are really good questions for me to ask at some point. There's no way for me to answer it right now, so I'm gonna have to just kind of put this off for now. Okay, this is again a game balance issue that I won't have the answer to until I have um, all the units kind of on the map. So, what pathing should I use for agents? A star was two pathing method. Is there a better algorithm? Again, I don't really know. Um, A star was one that I used for a lot of my uh, artificial intelligences when we were eventually taught that. Um, but things could have changed by now. I mean, there could be, other types of pathing that works better than A star. I don't really know. So this is information that um, may need may need more research. Um, or if anyone happens to know if there's a better pathing than A star, then let me know. I mean, I'm all ears for um, what could potentially be a um, an easier pathing. Okay. Even if it takes a little bit more in code, um, if the processing time for each path is easier, then I'm all for it. Okay, because um, the the amount of time that it takes to map a path for each and every single agent that could potentially be on the board could slow down the process. Could slow down the uh, like if the human player says, okay, um, okay, I'm trying to treat this as like a real-time strategy. Okay, meaning that um, I want the humans and the enemy to, you know, go in real time. Okay, they're walking around, they're going to where they need to go in real time to collect the necessary resources, right? So um, I don't want it to be a turn-based system. You know, turn-based would greatly help out on the processing of paths because then you hit the turn and it would go, okay, calculating now paths, and then everybody moves. That's not great, okay? That slows down the gameplay, and while, I mean, I'll do that if I have to, that's not the, um, that's not my intended goal, at least for this first iteration. GGG 1, in my opinion, should be an RTS, okay? Which means every single agent should be able to calculate out their path every single time to find where they need to go, and it executes it without slowing down everybody else, slowing down the rendering, slowing down the animations, so on and so forth. I need it to kind of be, I need the algorithm to be quick, okay? Um, I don't need an exponential growth on the calculations of these pathing. And while A star technically doesn't, um, I'm worried about the amount of agents on the map could potentially slow things down. So, um, okay. Point number 19. Baseboard is not completely representing the game board. Pop neighbor coordinates do not match with the given baseboard tab map. That's been fixed. Okay. We've been able to figure out the problem with that, and we were able to um, fix this particular issue. So this is done. We don't need to worry about that anymore. Okay. Point number 20. The enemy city third check isn't working for the X coordinate. Fix the X coordinate check to get the top corner city working. That has also been fixed. We've been able to get the top corner um, working the way it needs to work. So this also has been fixed. So we're good there. Um, when adding the prefabs in for the Trapper and Hunter, don't forget to add them to the board manager as well. That's later. We're not having to worry about that just yet, so we're good, we're okay. Okay, agents created in object-oriented programming, which is not compatible with the component-based model of Unity 3D. Need to switch viewpoint. include the component base so that we can use add component, get component start, and awake. This is kind of an ongoing process, so I'm still uh, while I'm still trying to work with the component-based model to get everything working the way it kind of needs to work, it doesn't necessarily mean that I've been able to get everything working kind of the way it needs to work for now. So we're going to go ahead and keep this for the time being because of the point that I don't have all of my agents fixed yet. You know, I still have the enemy agents left to work on. So once I get the humans figured out, worked out, and completed to a point where they're showing up on the map in their correct spawn locations, that doesn't necessarily mean that the other enemy agents are also working as intended along the lines of the humans. So I'm leaving that on the problems that we need to kind of work on. And, so let me go ahead and mark these. Get rid of that. Okay, we're good there. At least for now. That's the reason why I have that. Alright. So, and then of course here's all the points that I was kind of making about, you know, what you know, the issues that I'm kind of facing as well. Now, point 25 and 27 are pretty much the same, but we'll see about trying to get the. I mean, if we fix one, then we're probably gonna have it fixed for the other. So, alright. But let's go ahead and get the game loaded up, get the code loaded up, and then I think personally I'm going to kind of work on point number 26 initially. Let's see if we can get that done first. Because we're still kind of messing up there on that on that portion of the work there. So pardon me while I have a stack. Still kind of hungry. So we need to figure out why these um, locations that should be having the resources located on them are still locations that are being considered as a spawn point. We don't want that. We don't need that at all. That's basically breaking the game. So we're going to need to figure out how to go about fixing that. So, we don't need the humans spawning on top of a resource. You know, we don't know what would happen at that point. Um, I mean, they would basically be in constant collision with that resource. So, would they die? Would they mine said resource without any kind of worry that they might be captured the from the enemy? You know, that throws the balance way in the favor of the player if that's the case. So, um, to go ahead and skip this for now. So let's see, where did we leave off? Did we have any errors popping up right now, or are we still kind of working properly? Okay, so okay, you might have a hard time seeing it, but um, so here's human 0, and here's human 1. Okay, now the coordinates for human 0 is 8, 5, and the human 1 is 7, 7. Now, thankfully, I have the console here that's kind of helping me out with where the spawn points are at and where the tiles are at right now. So, so as you can see here, I have 6 human spawn points found. When you look at the human city, you can see that there's 3 resources around the human city. 3 out of the 6. So technically, there should be only 3 spots on this. Okay, so already we're looking at, this point right here, 7, 7, and then 8, 5, which is that point right there. Now, the we know that the y coordinate um, is the rows in this case for um, for the coordinate system. So you have um, 7, 5 and 8, 5. You have 7, 6 and 9, 6, and then you have um, 7.7 and 7.8, or no, 7.7 and 8.7. Yeah. So already we can see that this this spawn point right here, that's right here. Okay, so this human that you can see, which is right there, should be spawning right here. Well, there's multiple different problems going on here, obviously, because first off, we're not getting the um, we're not getting the image, the prefab of the human being generated from, you know, due to the inspector. So we need to figure out how we can kind of get um, how can we get the initiate, which does a lot of the um, creation of the prefab, into the creation of the human inspector. Because I don't need a clone, I just need this guy. But I still need everything kind of based around him too. So there's multiple different things going on there. But that's I'm gonna push that off to the side for now because we need to figure out how to stop this from happening. I don't know why these are generating the way they are. They just are. So, um, and as you can see, I have um, a log up here showing where the human city is being generated. So you can see that it's being generated at 8.6, which is right there. So this is 7.6 and 9.6, but again, they're still being set as the human spawn points. So we gotta fix that. So, um, let's go ahead and open up the board manager. We'll go ahead and stop the game. And let's look into where the problem lies. Okay, so here's where the problem lies in this particular function somehow. So first off, we check to see whether or not get human spawn count is indeed giving us a number that is um, slightly different. So we're returning the count amount from the human city spawn locations, and everything's kind of you know everything's fine here. Okay, the human city spawn locations um, is a dictionary or a list. It's a list, and it contains hex tower keys. So it's like, okay, no worries on that. Um, so far, we haven't had this problem yet, but you never know. We may have at some point. Then, of course, we have the uh, human spawn location. You know, um, trying to get the trying to find a um, where the human should spawn. You know, so it's basically looking inside the list, looking amongst the hex tile keys that are in there, and pulling out one of those at random, um, so that we can get the humans spawned. Um, Now, later on down the road, we're going to implement the opportunity for the player to set like a little banner that will allow for um, the humans to spawn where the player wants them to spawn at. So if they want them to kind of spawn at um, a particular location, um, uh, like further away from one of the enemy camps, which they won't know where the enemy camps are going to be. Okay, I'm going to do I do intend to make a fog of war. So initially they might not know where the enemy is going to be coming from to start off with, but um, they will eventually get to a point where it's like, okay, I need to start taking steps that won't get my humans killed. So they'll be able to kind of change where they're going to be showing up at. Otherwise, um, it's just gonna spawn them out at random. And while I mean that might be fine, this gives the player opportunity um, to go to a specific location that they want. So Um, so for the time being, this is where we're going to, this is what we're going to have for now. Eventually, I will need to kind of test this out to make sure that it is working as intended. Um, but for now, um, you know, so far it's working um, as intended, stating that we didn't find anything right now, which is fine, which is working. Okay. Um, okay. Then we have adding in the location for uh, for the tile in question, and then we have the return an account. So this is the main problem here. Okay, we're sending this information that does not work. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I'm not seeing this particular debug log. So, so I know right now that this isn't um, this isn't a problem right now. Again, I don't think it will ever be a problem. Matter of fact, okay, so if for some unknown reason the Kushkal's algorithm doesn't work as intended, which doesn't really make any sense because the the human city itself is one of those points that I put in initially as a starting point. Um, there should be a time where one of the tiles next to it gets opened up. Hmm. But no, at the same time, I think I've actually had a Kushkal's algorithm once or twice that actually had um, all the tiles surrounding the city completely with resources. I don't think it guarantees the um, I don't think Kushko's algorithm guaranteed the ability for one particular tile to be completely connected with, the rest of the maze. Um, at least not based off of the hexagonal uh, map. Now, if it was a standard square tile map, then there should be no tile that is left isolated by itself. But with the hexagonal, there's a little bit more of a change on that. So, hmm, let's see. Yeah, I think I've had it where um, the the tiles themselves can potentially be um, isolated by themselves in some regards, especially if um, the tiles next to it um, are have a problem with having too many connections with um, other locations within the maze itself. So, um, like for example, if the maze goes all the way around the human city, for example, then there could potentially be um, all the tiles around the human city itself being kind of blocked off. So the possibility is rare, but I still need to account for that potential possibility. Now, this is not being called though. Okay, otherwise we'd be seeing this debug log in our console, which we are not. So we don't need to worry about this. Okay, we don't need to worry about this particular section. So um, we need to go to this up here and find out um, why are we having a basically this right here is not working as intended. Okay, because this log right here is showing that this is still being generated each and every single time. Human spawn point found at row and column. Okay, so this right here is not working, and we have to figure out why. So we need to look into this particular location and figure out what is contained within resource tile holder. So let's go ahead and go to our debug session. We have this set here in board manager. We don't really need anything else right at this point in time, so I'm going to go ahead and remove those, at least for now. Let's go ahead and run the debugger here, and let's run this, and let's see what happens. Okay, there it goes. So now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these. And let's pop in resource tile holder. Let's see. Where can I find the contents of said resource tile holder? Let's see, hold on. It's a tile map, so it's not really a... It's not really an array, so I can't really look up the contents of them. At least not outright. Or at least to my knowledge. Let's see. Um, Where can I find all the tiles contained within the tile map? Hmm. let's see. Unity 3D debug tile map contents. Alright, well, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Maybe I can use a function call to try to isolate down what's kind of contained within a tile map. Um, well, that doesn't really help, now does it? No. There's nothing here telling me where I can find the contents of said tile map. Damn it. Okay. What am I gonna do here? Let's see. Hmm. I'm trying to look through these to see if I can get a um, function that will give me a list of tiles. Let me see. Okay. So let's see if I can do something like this. Source tile holder. Expression. Well, that doesn't really help. Is there no other list? Apparently not. Okay. Yeah, there's not much I can really do with that. Okay, let's see if we can look at contains tile. We'll look at has tile. Okay. This doesn't work because it's asking me, hey, let me see if I can find that specific tile, which, I don't want to make a brand new tile um, just to see whether or not it's located within it. Okay. So yeah, this was um, this was the only um, this was the only resource that I was thinking that I had available on there. But so this is using the vector 3 in position. But maybe I'm getting the location wrong. Yeah. Let me check to see where I'm adding in the other. We have resource tile over there, but I mean these. I thought these were kind of showing me where I can find them, but I guess it's not always correct. Hmm. This might be a problem. That's probably why. I'm setting these at a -1 on the z axis, so of course it's not going to find this here. Let's see. Let me go ahead and do source tile folder as tile new vector 3 int row temp clone temp -1. And 2. Wait, what? Could not resolve type? What do you mean it can't resolve type? What's going on here? What? So, what am I doing wrong here? Why is this having a problem with the vector 3 int when this is looking for a vector 3 int? Okay, let's figure out what's going on here. So, um, come on, whatever. Okay, so bool temp has style is equal to then just gonna do that for the time being. It should be pretty much the same exact thing here. Okay, but this time I can kind of focus in on this particular boolean and see what potentially has a problem here. I can do something like this as well. Vector 3 int temp tile int is equal to this. And I can look and see if this is actually creating its own unique tile, and if necessary I'll use that to replace what's contained in here. I don't need that running right now. Alright, so now we have this pretty much set up so that I can try to isolate down where the problem lies on here. So we're going to go ahead and start up the debugger again. And now go ahead and run the game. We'll see what happens. Alright, so for some odd reason that's not evaluating correctly. I don't know why, but it's not. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at temp tile int. Okay. Now we're going to do temp has tile. Okay. Okay, so this is stating that the placement at 8, 5, and -1 is not on the map. Okay, so we're gonna go back. Okay, so 8, 5 I believe should be right there. Let's go ahead and pop up the console if we can. I guess the debugger is having a problem with this. Alright, so okay, so it's saying false to 8.5. Let me make note of that here. So 8.5 false. 7.5 false. 9.6 is true. 7.6 is true. 8.7 is false. Oop. And 7.7 is false. Okay, so, and it just keeps on repeating because um, we're just looking at um, the we're looking at the if this is still, if the human spawn count isn't set at 6, then it will keep on going through this over and over and over again until it's pretty much satisfied. So we can just go ahead and close that down, and we can close this down. Okay, so um, and there we go. So it's the z coordinate that I was messing up on. So um, so because I didn't have that -1 there, it wasn't finding them because um, uh, it was looking at the wrong layer, or it was looking at the wrong coordinate for these locations. So it was looking at the um, so think of it this way. Okay, so like you have uh, my map is being generated on a particular XYZ. Okay, the Z coordinate is set to a number. So you have basically like this board. Um, let me see if I can kind of show you in some fashion or another. Um, Hold on, let me grab my book here. Okay, so sorry about that. All right, so say you have this board, right? Okay, that you know you're putting everything kind of on inside of it, or on top of it. Okay, what I was doing mistakenly was I was kind of looking underneath here. I was basically saying, hey, are there any tiles here? Are there any tiles down here? And of course it's going to say, no, we didn't find a tile. There's nothing down here. So all these coordinates that you're saying, hey, you're looking for this particular coordinate, there's no problems. We're not finding anything. So you're good to go. So you can go ahead and spawn at that particular point. When in fact, I should have been, what I was missing was the fact that should have been looking up on top. Now you might be wondering, well, Jim, why aren't you just keeping in the z coordinate at 0? Well, if I remember correctly, I was having some difficulty because when I had the resources set at 0, they weren't being rendered in, or they were trying to be rendered in with the base tiles. So so they were there, but they were also kind of being hidden at the same time. So I needed to adjust adjust where they were so that they could be visible. Now I don't know if there was an easier way of doing that. I'm not sure. To be honest, there might be an easier way than just having a two separate layers. Like right now I have this set to the baseboard, which has the underlying tiles, the walking tile, the tiles that all the agents are going to be walking upon, all the cities, and all of the walls of the map. Okay, and then of course I have the layer above it that has all of um, uh, all the resources, all the agents, you know, the the area where everything's kind of going to be moving around. Um, so I need to make sure that uh, at least that's what I figured I needed to have happen, so that the baseboard kind of remains fairly intact, and then you have the resource layer that allows for collisions and activity. So um, if that's the wrong way of doing it, please let me know, because um, I figured that this is the correct way of going about doing it, especially with the script, especially with scripting. So, um, okay, but so it's looking like we are pretty much good to go. So we don't really need to have these isolated down. So we can do that, and we're going to be good. So we can just kind of get rid of that. And now if we run the game again, let's take a little bit of time there. Don't know what the heck was going on there, but so we run it again, then we should be seeing 3 spawn points. There we go. Okay, so spawn location is being set to 8.5 there. Spawn location is being set to 8.7 there. So we're good. So now when we look at these two locations, 8.7 and 8.5, which is basically this spot here and that spot there. So, okay. So we got that particular issue done. Um, we can move that down here. This has been resolved. Alright. So now we still have everything else going on with these particular human agents. Okay, so how do I get this to work the way I need it to work? Hmm. How's it going there, bud? ASI or A Simple Stove? Sorry. Welcome to the stream. It's going, you know. Now it's just trying to figure out how I can get these human agents to work. How's your day been going? No, no. I'm using art assets um, from the Unity site. So, oh, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. My day's been good. Spent most of it working on my game. How about yours? It's been good so far. Been able to get one bug fixed, so I mean that's a positive, right? Um, Now it's just a matter of trying to figure out how to fix my human agents. That this part has been kind of causing me problems um, for my coding streams that I've done. So, um, and I'm not quite sure how to go about fixing it. I've been kind of hitting my head up against the wall on it, and um, still trying to figure out where the problem lies. So, nice. I'm still trying to figure out how to get my tile set properly set up. Yeah, that took a while. Especially, I was, I'm trying to do a hexagonal tile set. So, or the tile maps, and it took quite a bit of time to get it to the point that you're seeing it here. So now it's actually kind of working the way I wanted it to work, but now I'm at the point where I'm having to spawn in all the AI agents into the game, and it's it's following the square-based tile set and not the hexagonal tile set. So that's where I'm trying to figure out where the where the problem is. So um, so I have these human agents, as you can barely see the circle that's kind of showing up right here. They're showing up in these spots as shown here, but their spawn locations are supposed to be on this tile here and that tile there. So, uh, yeah, it seems really difficult. Well, I mean, it depends on your game. You can make your AI pretty simple, or you can make it super complex. So it all depends on what you want to have for your game. I mean, you can have it set um, to a set pattern that it will always work on set pattern all the time, or you can make it a little bit more complex and say, well, if the player does this, you can have it do that. So, um, but that's dependent on your game, of course. So, I'm just trying to get it to the point where these can actually be spawned correctly in the right spots. Hmm. The coordinate system is proper. You know, the positions of their transforms are appropriate. The problem that I'm having right now is the fact that what's being represented as their location, say like for human one, does not match up with where the tile map is. So that's why I've been fighting against this for the past couple of streams for the coding. So, um, okay, so let's see. Set random human spawn. Alright, that's still problems. We don't need to worry about that. Okay, so we're good there. Let's see. Yeah, tile set. Well, okay. Um, Question for you there, Simple Stove. Do you have the um, Are you trying to set up your tiles based off of the script itself, or are you just using the 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 tile palette? You know, um, basically creating the maps yourself. If you're using script, then I might be able to help you out with that a little bit. But I mean, if you're using a uh, like a tile palette where you're actually like constructing the levels yourself, then um, I can't really help you too much on that. What I'm doing for this is that I'm trying to set up the map in such a way where um, the map is auto-generated every single level. So when the player completes one level, they go on to the next level, and the map gets rebuilt with a totally different, um, with a totally different design to it. Um, so if you're using a script based to set your tiles, you could probably look back on some of my older videos on my YouTube channel, um, and you might be able to kind of get some additional information there, maybe. You know, see what the problems that I had to try to get the tiles working the way they are. So, um, but you know, feel free to ask any questions if you want. Okay, I think I'm going to need to move on to the game manager here. Let's see. Hmm. Let's see. This isn't working the way I wanted it to. Let's see. So, what am I doing wrong here? They need to be using the resource tile holder tile set, tile map to be located there, but how do I get it under that particular umbrella? Hmm. Let's see. Hmm. somehow do something like this? Kind of doubt it, but yeah, it's not happy with those. Let's see. Um, Let me see here. Adding game object, child to tile map, not time map, tile map. Hmm. Uh, hmm. Hmm. Didn't really get any kind of good answers there. Um, how do I store information? It's tile. Two tiles have an end that refers to a number of trees left of sprite array 0 to 7 that shows the 8 levels trees are present and removes the tile after it goes below 0. For some reason, the number of trees is shared across all tree tiles in a game and is not unique to the tile. I give my tiles the unique number of trees and change it in gameplay so the sprite changes and eventually the tile is removed. So tile method that cannot change an individual tile's num trees and change its spread at runtime. Um, first tiles are scriptable objects, not inherent non-behavior, and roughly speaking has a static data inside by default. Because it is normal behavior for scriptable objects in Unity, tiles data storing in a strict tile data which exists for each tile in a tile map game object. An instance game object field which made to contain any logic components you need creates one for all time. Oh boy, this English. Oof. Unity creates one for all tiles and will attach to tile map as children, but I didn't find more or less a way to get set data in this game object. It's very uncomfortable to access its different ways, tiles, and regular game objects. I also try to access this goes via tile map better in this way as possible to access only scriptable object, which is static and share values to all. Found additional extensions for the tile map features in Unity and stand tile map developers. Among others, it contains a grid information script. No, I need docs references, examples, but it looks simple. I find it here. The script allows to get set properties like dictionary, key value, by gate positions. I didn't dig deep. For me, it's not a good solution, so any additional code to do so simple things. Uh, Starting to think that it's not possible, in which case I need to make an array of objects which will store tile. Um, and okay, so there doesn't seem to be any good answer here. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Create primitive. Hmm. create primitive may fail at runtime. This will happen if your project does not reference the following components: mesh filter, mesh renderer, box collider, or circulator at runtime. Let's declare private properties of these types. Okay. Let's see, what is this primitive type all about? Oh, okay. That's not helpful at all. All right. Oh, that wasn't what I was needing. Um, do, do, do. Let's see. Um, okay. So far, I'm not seeing anything here that will help me out with this. So, I mean, this is great for anyone that is kind of working on their own game. Obviously, that you know they can kind of um, design each level, each scene, you know, based off of the map design that they want to have created. But for me, obviously, it's not something that I need. So Hmm. Yeah, not what I needed. Oh boy, this has not been an easy task for me. I may need to do some research um, online and see if I can find how others placed them. But wait, let's see. Hold on a second. Do I still have? I do have roguelike up still. What I'm doing right now is I'm bringing up the old roguelike and I'm gonna see. I'm gonna look back on it and see what they did again to set up the spawn points um, for each of these levels here. Um, so looking at scripts, looking at game manager. Okay, so they have a list of enemies here. Okay. They have this right here, this function. You know what? Let me open this up here. Okay, so add enemy to list. This isn't being handled by the... This isn't really being handled uh, by the game manager directly. So it's being handled by the board manager. Hmm. Yeah, they're using the instantiate to place the object in question. Hmm. Don't need the audio on that. Okay, so they're creating clones all throughout this. Hmm. Yeah, the... Hmm. Let's see. The player itself... has everything kind of built in with it, but it's not something that is, we're not really scripting the player out with everything here other than, um, what's kind of be done here. Hmm. Let's see. Sound manager. Hmm. Wait. Hmm. Let's look into this a little bit more. So, first off, moving object. I'm looking for the actual. Oh, God. Well, that silly me. I'm looking at something else here. So yeah, okay. So moving object here. Okay. So this is basically my agent class here. Okay. Um. So let's kind of compare the two here. I'm kind of curious about these. So okay, don't need the debug console for right now. Okay, so let's look at the agent here. So with the agent, we have the layer mask, box collider, rigid body. They're not including the resource tile holder, or they're not including like the board mapper at the moment, which makes sense. They shouldn't necessarily need that. Um, hmm. Right. This is a coroutine for movement overall. So I don't really need this boolean either because um, movement is pretty much handled by the coroutine anyway. So we can go ahead and remove these. Um, we can remove this. Yeah, we don't really need that. The They don't really care about positioning here. So I don't know if I really need this one either, but I'll go ahead and hold on to it for now. I don't think I need the sprite renderer either, so we can go ahead and get rid of that. Hmm. Not sure. I'm probably going to need these for the animations, but for now we're going to kind of hold off on those. So here's the thing that uh, the difference between these two a little bit here. First off, um, the start doesn't really work, or at least it didn't really work um, when I was trying to get the game to run. It completely ignored this routine because um, I'm trying to run these you know, I'm trying to bring these guys in at runtime, and they weren't, when I first loaded them in, start wasn't being um, wasn't being called for some reason. Um, so I'm not sure why that was a thing. It's the reason why I have this function here, initial position for when I actually do create an agent. They are automatically this function is called, and all this information is set. Um, but let's see. Kind of curious about this line. Hmm. Let's see. No, this is the only time that the transform position is modified. Okay, we need to change this into a -1, I believe. Oh, hey there, players. Welcome to the stream. Um, Sorry, man. I missed you typing there. Um, what's the game you're making? I am attempting I guess the closest that comes in the genre would be an RTS. Um, but the the game right now, um, I don't know if you've ever played the game called Majesty. Um, I'm trying to design the game to the point where all the agents that are being spawned on the map are um, controlled by the artificial intelligence. So it's the player's job to try to manage them and work with them and try to get through each of the levels. What I'm facing right now is that uh, my agents aren't, um, for some reason, they're spawning on what I can only determine as the square based tile system, tile map, instead of the hexagonal tile map that I'm trying to use. So I'm trying to figure out why the position of these agents are not using the hexagonal tile map that I have. Obviously, I'm trying to use scripting to try to spawn them in, and I don't know where the failing is right at this point. So I'm trying to figure out where the problem lies. So let me go back to this one here. Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Um, do you normally like make your own games as well, or So, for example, here's the map right now, and here's the two artificial intelligences being generated, but the spawn location isn't the um, where I want it to be. You know, the coordinates here for their position is supposed to be putting them right about here from what I can tell. Um, at least I believe so. Yeah. Um, so the positioning here for these is slightly off. That's why I'm trying to work through that right now. Search for Unity 3D and found you. Oh, okay. Okay. First time making a Unity 3D game, or um, this is your uh, or have you been kind of making games multiple times? So, um, just experimenting through the years, making the real game now. Be right back. Okay. Sounds good. Wait a second. Did it actually add in the -1 on the agent location? Let's verify that real quick. It is. Okay. So we're good there. Okay, so this is its position, but why are we not using the hexagonal tile map for the positioning on this? Hmm. Okay, I can't really use um, the 2D roguelike because they use um, the instantiate to spawn in each of the agents. Oh boy. let's look at the enemy tiles a little bit more. Where were we putting in the enemy tiles with? Add enemies to list. Hmm. Let's see. Okay. Hmm. Interesting. Oh, welcome back. So they're able to use the game manager within the moving object. My moving object has a amount of behavior, but I don't necessarily need to instantiate the game manager. Okay, so interesting. Okay. How can I use that to benefit me? It's right on the tip of my tongue on what I can do for this. But these, maybe they're very specific. Hmm. Where? Oh boy. It's definitely a challenge right at this point. Trying to figure this all out. Um, OTIV, I don't, have you been messing around with Unity 3D a lot, or is this kind of your looking into, um, are you, where do you think you fall on your Unity 3D experience? Are you more of the, like the tutorial, learning everything that's kind of new with it, or learning the basics of it, or have you been kind of programming with Unity 3D multiple times? I'm just kind of curious where you feel that you stand on that. So, hmm. Pretty good. Haven't worked with proper teams. Some experience from other areas. Okay. Okay. Well, if you see something that proper teams more than three coders, yeah. No, believe me, I know that. I've uh, I've worked on, you know, well, I've worked on with one team in a game studio before. So, um, granted, I wasn't. Uh, I was one of their like entry levels, so I didn't last very long there, unfortunately. But they shut their doors, so yeah. Um, but that's the life of kind of like a contractor, I guess. You're always at risk for um, being let go. So let's see. So here's you probably are understanding more of what's going on with Unity than what I am right at this moment in time. I'm still fairly new to the system, so I'm still kind of getting working with what I got, trying to change my focus from the object-oriented um, mindset to the component-based. So I'm still fighting against that mentality. Um, the um, what I'm trying to generate with this particular game is a method of generating each level in a procedure based, meaning that I'll every level will be its own new map and more additional difficulties, more resources, more enemies, so on and so forth. So right now, um, I'm not using Unity 3D in the traditional sense in that you're drawing out each of the maps yourself for each um, particular scene, and therefore, uh, you're placing where the units are at each and every single time. I'm trying to let the script itself do that. So, and I've been able to simulate the style map that I want to show, but right now I'm trying to work on um, the agents that need to be spawning on the map. Right now, I haven't been able to get them to work with the hex um, tile map. It appears that they're still using the square-based tile map system. So I'm trying to figure out where where my failing is in trying to set the position for these particular units um, on the hexagonal tile map versus the square-based. Um, so, uh, so I'm not using it in the traditional sense in that, uh, I'm drawing everything in, basically putting the spawn points in the squares, the locations, and, drawing each and every single map out there. I'm actually controlling the size of the map itself using my uh, using the levels that I have on here. So if I was to stop this real quick and change my monster level to say 6, for example, I get a larger map once everything kind of resets there. So as the difficulty increases, I increase the size of the map as we continue on. I'm just using a smaller map for now just because I want to actually be able to see all of the information being displayed right at this point. So okay, don't these units get a position from something like Hexagon Field Manager or Get Field? Not sure how Hexagon coordinates work. I haven't seen that, but then again, like I said, I'm still fairly new to this, so let me look that up real quick. Let's see. Hexagon Field Manager. Nothing on that. Oh, you made it up. Okay. I was just kind of curious. It looked like you were using actual functional code. So um, okay, so the code of the positioning of them is, let me move up to where I'm setting the tiles. Okay, so set tile parent. So I'm using the the tile map in question and using set tile to for the positioning and the tile in question to position each of the tiles as well. So problem is that I can't really use this again for the agents themselves because the set tile is very specific to it only takes in the tile object. So I can't use anything like game object or anything along those lines to set the tile or to position the agents on that. So that's why I'm kind of working with trying to figure out how to work with the tile map positioning of the units, but yet not. So I think something that manages position should be its own thing. Satao would use it internally in your agents as well. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I just haven't had any luck on trying to figure out how I can position something on the tile map that isn't exactly a tile. And unfortunately, documentation with Unity 3D hasn't exactly been stellar, or at least based off of what I've seen anyway. Um, so, see, I look at their hexagonal tile maps here, and they're using the standard um, procedure of, like, hey, use a tile palette and the like, and that's all well and fine, but trying to do this through the script is a little bit different. So yeah, Unity has here, let me um, Unity has its own uh, hexagonal tile map uh, objects that you can actually create. So, um, oh yeah, man, I've been if you, I didn't really show it, but um, I've actually been using it quite often. um, so I'm aware of the website. My problem is that I'm trying to actually work with the Unity system to um, try to get the positioning done. So believe me, I've been referencing that website, especially with the construction um, of the map itself. But now I'm trying to figure out how to, um, now that I'm kind of beyond the map creation stage, now I'm trying to actually utilize that map, and it hasn't been going that well. So, um, so still kind of working out the kinks on that. So, um, I upload all these videos to my YouTube channel. So I mean, you can look back on some of my earlier vids of the creation of this game, and you can see all the ins and outs that I was kind of going through, looking through the Red Blood games um, to get the initial information. Like, for example, here, let me bring it up real quick. Uh, I was looking at map storage. So I was looking at this resource quite a bit, and this is what I was referencing quite often, trying to get the map to work out properly. And it took some work to uh, get it to where I needed it to be. For a while, I actually had a map that looked exactly like this. So I was like going, oh no. So um, the positioning of the tiles kept on, um, it kept with a straight um, Y axis look to it. So all these tiles were, you know, shifted over to over to the right or left, depending on how you viewed it. So it basically looked something like this. on occasion. So I was it took a while to try to figure out um, how to make the map look like this, and even then, um, my methods of trying to um, change the positioning, change um, the coordinates of these didn't really work out because uh, I had, in a sense, like two separate layers uh, of different coordinates. So the actual coordinates were being set to a certain value, which was kind of making it look um, which was kind of making it look like this, but I was trying to modify the coordinates so that would try to look like that, and it became a big old mess. I finally fixed it to the point where we're now on a single coordinate system on everything, but ooh, I had some trial and error on that. So, um, but yeah, you can. Uh, they actually do have the tile maps to it, and you can actually do like isometric and the like. Um, so it makes things a little interesting to. Um, I mean, you have the standard tile map here, which is obviously the square-based tile map, but you can actually go with hexagonal or isometric. And if you can change the hexagonal tile maps to be isometric as well. At least I believe. Oh, well, whatever. um, there it is. So you can kind of change this up as well if you wanted it to. But so uh, been it's been a fight to to kind of uh, you know to put it mildly. So let's see. So trying to change its transform position. I'm giving it the X and Y locations and using the -1 for uh, the layer of the resource layer, or the tile map. Um, the tiles that actually have the resources on them. These trees, these vines, and the like. Um, there I have them positioned at a -1, so I don't know whether or not that's a correct method of going about doing it. Um, but when I had them set to 0, much like the baseboard positioning, um, I wasn't seeing the resources, so I figured a -1 would show them. I don't know whether or not that's the correct method or not. Um, but I mean, the the fact that I'm able to actually see the resources, and um, I can now kind of search for them. It's working so far. Again, I don't know if if that's a good method of going about doing so. Um, but I'm trying to use like the multiple layers so that you have that visual, that you have the the ground, the base, which is what this is all about, the baseboard, where you see the wall, uh, the human spawn point, the enemy spawn point, and their walking tiles. And then of course you have the layer above that where you have for um, the agents themselves, the resources, and anything else that I want to kind of put on top of the base layer. So, um, but this isn't this isn't putting it on the position for the proper tile map, or it's not using the hexagonal tile map coordinates, which is what's throwing me off on this. And I can't figure out where my failure is on this. I don't know how to set the position specifically to the hexagonal tile map versus the default tile map that it always starts off with. Any insight would be welcome. I'm not one to if you see something that you feel that I might want to kind of change up or modify, or say you might need to do it this way than that way, I'm all ears. I'm not one to say, uh, I'm not ignorant enough to say that I'm not going to listen to anyone. No, I'm still fairly new to Unity, um, so I understand that I'm most likely going to be making mistakes. So, um, but I mean, this is it's a good method of learning. Trying to figure things out. So, eventually I will come to um, a solution to this. But oof, it has not exactly been forthcoming. Apologies again for all the commented out code. Um, I've been doing a lot of uh, I've been doing a lot of kind of testing and working to see whether or not uh, I was getting something correctly. So, um, hmm, let's see. There's been people that have done this already, and I just don't know if they've done it through scripting. Like for example, these videos that are online, they're using um, they're using maps that have been kind of created by the designer. Okay, it's not a generated map, so or a script generated map. So that's why I'm what some of these tutorials are doing aren't really helping me out too much. So it's really hard to try to find um, the script-based um, tutorials versus the standard Unity. Um, the way Unity is meant to be used, I guess. Like for example, I built the 2D roguelike, for example, and oh boy, that was oof. There were definitely some moments in the roguelike that it was like, okay, we're having some problems with the code, but whatever. Um, can't help you too much with this topic. No problem then. No problem. I'm definitely. Uh, it definitely feels like um, I'm I can still use Unity 3D um, the way they intended. I mean, the engine itself is still allowing for this to be built the way I'm looking for, but obviously it's not the standard method, and that's why I'm facing a little bit more difficulty on it. So, um, I do kind of appreciate um, that this is a little bit of a scripting method. I'm just kind of wondering, am I a fool to... Oh, okay. Let me let me go down to where I'm generating these humans. So, am I a fool to be using this, the new game object instead of that, the instantiate? I'm trying to include everything a within a single component. Um, and so far, based off of um, what I've seen, um, instantiate seems to be the better version of the two, even though it makes a clone. Um, I'm trying to not have to worry about the making of a clone, but I don't know how I can get the game object to utilize all of um, the components that comes with the prefab. So, um, you were saying you wanted to embrace component-based architecture, where you putting everything into one component, then instantiate actually puts it into a hierarchy. Does new game object do the same? Well, um, as you can see when I run the game, the new game object generating the um, generating the humans, which is still kind of using the script, and it's still using the positions that I'm setting for it. So it's still visible on the map itself, but um, when I like bring in instantiate, for example, let me see if that causes any problems here. It shouldn't. There we go. So when I run the game again, I still have the game objects showing up using the positions here. But when you look at this, now we're using um, the instantiate, which has the sprite renderer, the animator, the rigid body, the box collider, and um, the sprite or the prefab itself on it. But again, positioning isn't set correctly, so um, you know the um, the locations of these guys should be set to their respective tiles, and it's not really doing that with what I have here. Um, so I'm trying to um, when you're using um, the standard method of it, you're using instantiate, which makes a clone of them, um, but which allows you to have different values to them. Problem is the difficulty that I'm finding with this is the fact that the um, my human class, um, the I have the potential of making it into um, what I call the human hunter. I haven't initiated it yet, but later down the line, I want to allow the player to create what I call as hunters, meaning that they will go around and actively hunt down enemy units and destroy them. Um, they will be using a different sprite, a different look to them, um, and they will have their own uh, number of bullets to them. They will have their own kind of unique enemy bullets to them. Like the ghoul bullet will not kill a ghost, for example. That's the reason why I'm trying to isolate them uh, completely. But I mean, they're still under the human object. I don't know whether or not I should make. Um, I don't know whether or not to make the hunter or the human hunter into its own class, because um, maybe I should. Hmm, maybe make a human ghoul hunter, human ghost hunter, and human goblin hunter under their own three separate classes. It seems like a waste though, because the only difference between them is the bullets that um, the bullets and what they're going to be hunting. So um, it's the reason why I'm trying to kind of put it all under the human component. Um, but it still doesn't solve the problem with what I'm seeing here. Um, so maybe I should just not have the game objects being created, and just leave it to the clones. Hmm. I don't know. I mean, I'm able to get the clones underneath the tile maps. I don't know where the um, hmm, yeah, make use of the prefabs. Then you really need to use instantiate. Yeah. One of the uh, nice positives of the prefabs is the fact that they do come with, you can build them so that they have the rigid body, the box collider, sprite renderer, and the like already kind of built into them. Um, and you can change up their animation so that you can work with it. Um, so my concern that I have a little bit is, can I make sure that each one of these humans are kind of separate in their own right, meaning that when one moves, they're not going to affect the other one's movement. Not sure. We'll have to come to that road or we'll have to come to that bridge when we get there. So, um, so if this is the case, then I don't necessarily need to worry about these particular. If I want to stick with the instantiate only, then I'm going to need to figure out how to. Hmm, let's see. How will I modify this a little bit? I like the fact that I can change um, the ID of them, but I don't think I can do that here within instantiate. I don't think there's a method that I can uh, create its own unique label for each one of them. It's just going to use the human sprite, and hmm, okay, so if the positioning will be the um, using the -1 to line up with the resource tile holder. Um, So, how am I going to go about trying to work on this here? Hmm. Let's see. Let me try this out here a little bit. Let me just kind of remove these game objects or all references of the game object here for now. We'll use the default init function, which is within human, to set all the values accordingly, and then we're going to add the human to the list of active humans, and then we instantiate what we have here, and we'll see whether or not that works as intended. I have a funny feeling that I'm going to have a problem here. Yeah, there we go. Even though it's not container constructed, it takes one argument, of course. Hmm. Gonna have to bring back the constructor class. Hmm. This is where I often have kind of a problem switching over from the object oriented to the component based. With the component based, you don't really need to use the constructors, so um, or at least it doesn't really use constructors in a way. You're gonna have to correct me on that there, Otiv. I haven't really worked with component based all that often. Um, the usage of, just the, um, functions kind of allows you to step away from constructors outright. Um, so, uh, not sure. This seems to be quite Unity specific. Why is this good? I don't know. I'm from what I've seen of component based, um, or at least from what I've seen of Unity code, there hasn't been too much usage of constructors themselves. Um, so, um, I mean, you just kind of look at, um, say like, for example, here using the row and, the 2D road, like, you don't see a constructor for pretty much any of these classes that they've generated. They only use there's specific functions of, like awake, start, um, so on and so forth. There is no constructors anywhere within their scripts. So uh, my attempts to, create a new object, through my object-oriented programming um training, um, it's not uh, it's not lining up, obviously. C Sharp still allows for constructors. Don't get me wrong on that, but Unity doesn't really use them. So, or if they do it in a fashion that is kind of behind the scenes. Um, so that's why it's slightly different. Um, so right now I'm trying to figure out if I even really need this line, and if so, how can I add, how can I call the default init from the object when I don't need new? Well, okay. This is calling the constructor. So, um, oh yeah, no, no, no. Um, yeah, don't get me wrong. Okay, I can go to human and I can build the constructor and I can build the deconstructor for human. Okay, that's um, matter of fact that I've done that before. That I just removed it because um, my attempts um, to use new hasn't really been lining up with Unity's component based for some reason. They don't really use any kind of constructors whatsoever in their code. So um, so I'm trying to match with how they build their own scripts that you know uh, they use like new game object, but the game object is um, part of their base code. They have constructors within their engine, um, but you don't see that in the code that you build for your own specific scripts. That's why um, uh, I've had some difficulty trying to work with non-constructors, I guess. I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the component-based. Um, Not a huge fan of how they showcase stuff. Most often, the tutorial is the simplest way that will get you to the result, not the most maintainable in the long term. Yeah. Oh, believe me, I've had some problems with their tutorials as well. I mean, uh, when I first started doing these Sunday coding streams that I do, um, the um, I wanted to. So I use Unity as a twofold method. One, I wanted to learn how Unity works so that I could basically kind of put that on my resume. Hey, I'm a Unity programmer. I can go ahead and work with your game studio if you want, or some other resource, and I can say, hey, I've done Unity. I can do it for you. Hire me. um, but on the other hand, I know that there. Unity is basically taken over for Flash programming. Flash programming is pretty much ancient history now. Um, I mean, you can still do Flash programming, but the support is slowly fading away from that. Um, so I've been seeing a lot more people using Unity more and more to generate, small coding projects and like. Um, so when I first started on this particular project, uh, I wanted to look into how Unity worked and how I could kind of create something that I wanted to create. Um, I have a couple of friends that like to design games, but um, they don't have any kind of like they don't have a whole lot of coding background to them, so I'm trying to step in for them, and this is one of their ideas. So I'm trying to build it using Unity, um, but based off of the requirements of the game. Um, I didn't want to hand draw each level that was there, so I had to look more on the scripting side of things, which now we come to the dilemma here, and um, I'm wondering if I should or should not have a constructor. A lot of the scripts that I've seen have basically ignored constructors, or at least based off of um, what I've seen so far from Unity uh, and its the developers that I've seen so far. I can be completely off base. If you want to say Jim, you're being stupid, slap you around, use constructors, then uh, then I could very well be stupid at that point. you know, um, maybe do need to put constructors back in. Hmm. But how do I make this otherwise? I don't want to use game objects anymore because that's creating um, basically doubled up of the components, uh, which isn't sustainable. I don't want to be having double the amount of units, because I don't want to have the engine confused about which of the two components to move. So it's the reason why I initially removed the instantiate, because um, I didn't want um, the double component. But the more and more I look at it, the more and more I feel that instantiate is the preferred method of where to go from here, and that I can still create prefabs and their respective animations, and instantiate will use them appropriately, allow for the collisions and like. Hmm. Okay, well, uh, and let's see. Hmm. Okay, let's see. Let's see where we stand on this so far. Wait, there isn't a string class? Or maybe I'm not, or maybe I'm just not calling the. Probably not having the right library on there. Let's see. Let me verify that string is part of the system. C sharp system. Yep, it's part of the system. Okay. Okay. don't. Okay. Let's see. Maybe I'm using the wrong parameter type here. Let's see. That might be the thing. It might be the fact that I'm trying to use a capital S instead of a lowercase. Let's hold off on this for right now. Let's change this into that, and let's see if we have any issues with that. This will do is protection level, of course. Happy now? It's happy. Yay. Okay. Let's try this out. No reference exception. Yay. Okay. Let's find out where the problem lies. 175. Okay. Let's see. This goes to human 32. Center in it, which is good. Then it goes to 43, which is good. Go to initial position for agent. Just goes here. Agent 32. Why are we suddenly having an issue here with this? So just because I got rid of the game object here, now I can't generate the components? That doesn't really... I mean, it makes sense, but I don't know how to correct this. Hmm. So how can I make a game object, but not a game object? Uh, hmm. Let's see. I don't know if can I maybe put like the kind of the game object inside the constructor in some fashion. But I'm gonna have the exact same problem that I had before with the double up of components being shown in the hierarchy. So how do I fix this? I mean, it's looking for game object in order to get the um, in order to get the necessary, box sliders, you know, um, the rigid bodies, layer masks, and so on and so forth. So, but why? Hmm. I don't know. And unfortunately, I got about like 10 more minutes before I gotta close down the stream here. Um, just so you're aware, I do daily streams from 2 to 6, and um, uh, I normally do coding streams every Sunday. So, oh, oh, thank you for the follow. Wait, I thought you already followed. No, maybe it was someone else. Apologies, apologies. Um, but obviously, I'll be continuing this next week from where I kind of left off, but um, it's looking like this is once again gonna have to kind of wait until next week to figure out where the problem lies. Um, how do I make my class mimic a game object but not create a new one? Hmm. I don't know if my thinking on this is correct or not. Um, like I said, I'm really kind of uh, traveling on uncharted ground. It feels like sometimes, but Um, but I know that there's a solution out there. I just don't know where to find it. So, but I got to close down everything there, folks. Um, so just so you're aware, I have a link down below for my YouTube channel. All these streams that I do are uploaded directly to my YouTube channel. I don't do any kind of editing to them, so, or at least very little, if anything. Um, so you can find all of my streams that I've done so far there on my YouTube channel. So feel free to check that out if you want. Um, I also have links to my Discord, my Patreon, and my Twitter account down below on my Twitch channel, as well as in the description of my YouTube videos. So if any of those interest you, then feel free to check those out as well. Um, Gonna have to put this on hold once again. Still trying to figure out how to handle the positioning, but I know that I will come to a solution, or if any of you have a solution that um, I might want to take up, feel free to either, join me in the chat on my Twitch streams, go to my YouTube channel for the my coded streams, or go to my Discord and chat with me there. Let me know if you can find an issue. Let me know. Tell me what I might be doing wrong, and I'd be all ears for that. So, um, my uh, my streaming continues tomorrow, same time as always, 2 to 6, with the gameplay of Warframe. It's a Monday, Tuesday schedule. And then I have World of Warships on Wednesday and Borderlands 2 on Thursday. I have a schedule down below, so if anyone wants to know, um, what day I'm playing what or coding what, you can look down below on my Twitch channel for that. So, um, have a good one. I'm coding my stuff at the same time, so can't help you with such specifics. It's 2 a.m. here, so you see me rarely. It's quite all right, man. No worries if you're not able to make it, then I there's I'm thankful that you're willing to join me on it. Um, so any kind of input that you can give is always a great help. If you're if you're lurking or just kind of watching me do this, then that's fine too. I don't mind. So I'm thankful that you kind of stuck with me through this there, OTIV on this. So hopefully I'll see you next time, or next week on Sunday. If not, that's quite alright. I completely understand. So um, okay, so that's gonna be it for tonight, there, folks. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll catch you next time. Till then, have a good night there, strangers. See ya.